Dilpreet. I think we'll have the questions at the end. That was actually an eye opener because this topic is actually less dealt with in our OPD. But the questionnaire was actually very useful. And I think we'll go to the next talk. Dr. Gracie Thomas, please introduce her.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Kunji Moideen, for making me a part of this program. I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Queen Aditya. Yesterday only I heard one of her talks in one of the webinars, and she is a very good speaker. I'm very happy to introduce her. She is a senior consultant obstetrician and gynecologist in AMRI Hospital, Calcutta, and the East Zone coordinator of FOXI Sexual Medicine Committee. She has a lot of publications and prizes to her credit. She has received the Abdul Kalam Award of Appreciation from Delhi Gynecologist Forum in 2015. Over to you, Dr. Aditi, for your talk. Aditya, Dr. Queen.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thanking POGS, Dr. Kunji Moideen, Dr. Neeraj Jadhav, and all our chairpersons, Gracie ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this grand opportunity, and thanking Dr. Dilpreet for already laying the foundation of what I'm about to say. So let me try to share my screen. Just give me a second. Screen is visible, I hope. Yeah, and now
it's visible.
Yeah.
Make it slideshow.
Yeah, okay, yes. So once again, thanking POGS, Dr. Kunji Moideen, and everyone, Gracie ma'am, and Dilpreet for laying the wonderful foundation. So without wasting time, we go directly into the various management modes of this dreadful situation, which goes unrecognized in a good number of cases, but the woman suffers silently. So she needs adequate help. So the management modes will be as such. Because sexual desire encompasses biological, psychological, social, and contextual components, a biopsychosocial approach, as Dilpreet has already explained, this kind of an approach to the treatment of women with HSDD is absolutely warranted. And thereby, the treatment will be multifaceted and obviously has to be individualized. The initial counseling will be an initial approach, might be office-based counseling to provide basic education on the diagnosis and correct misperceptions about human sexuality and recommendations for behavioral or lifestyle changes to improve the self-esteem and increase sexual interest and intimacy. So this is the very initial counseling that the first caregiver will be doing, healthcare giver will be doing. So the DS has already been described very well by Dilpreet, just going through it, that this is an essential component of the management. So what happens after the DSDS, as she already explained, a woman's answers on the DSDS can have a help a clinical clinician to address the relevant issues. For example, if a woman thinks her loss of sexual interest stems from stress or fatigue, she may be able to make lifestyle modifications, changes to alleviate those issues. Or if she is dissatisfied with a relationship, she may benefit from counseling. That is not she, the couple. They will benefit from adequate and exhaustive counseling. Now, the actual treatment, the brief office-based counseling may be helpful using the PLISSIT model, which is known as the permission, limited information, specific suggestions, and intensive therapy. This is a stepped approach specifically for general healthcare providers. That is the first level healthcare provider. If we are the first ones, then this is for us, caring for women with the sexual concerns. A little bit more in detail is that this particular model, women are given permission to discuss their problems and emotions and to explore solutions. Then the practitioner provides limited information, which includes basic sexual function education and all resources, that is literature, videos, erotica, whatever, and the specific suggestions as such. for addressing the problems in the form of directives and advice. If the individual needs more intensive treatment for this HSDD and this is not adequate, then the practitioner can refer her to individual or couples therapy to another caregiver who is more conversant with this, as example like psychotherapy. There are other similar models along with Plicit, though Plicit is more used, it's the maximum used. The other models are the allow, that is the ask, legitimize, limitations, open up, work together, and also the MEEBS, the mind, emotions, body, energy, and spirit. Here it takes spirituality a lot into the whole process. It is said that the mind, body, spirit, all are interconnected, and more focus is given on the spirituality aspect of it. The goals of this kind of treatment is to improve the quality of life and to create a positive environment conducive to a healthy, fulfilling sexual life and causing satisfaction in the person, because this total dissatisfaction is causing her a lot of grief, anxiety, and is adversely affecting her well-being. So our aim is to make it turn the negative whole environment to a positive one. So the target-based interventions, treating the main cause, that is dampening the sexual desire. Like there can be coexistent other problems like vaginal dryness, vaginismus, local infection, comorbidity, depression. It might be these things which are actually causing her a lack of desire. So we have to also look into these issues and try to treat them wherever they are coexistent. Psychological intervention, that is, after we've done the initial models, referral to a psychotherapist is often the next step once office-based counseling proves inadequate, or if during counseling the presence of trauma, abuse, or serious psychiatric issues comes to our knowledge. So psychotherapy focuses primarily on the psychological and sociocultural factors contributing to the distressing low desire. Interventions for female sexual dysfunction can include cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness training, and sensate focus. So the psychotherapy is a recognized treatment strategy for HSDD, typically focused on modifying the thoughts, beliefs, behaviors, emotions, and relationship, communication behaviors that interfere with desire. So I already mentioned the sensate focus. This is a sex therapy technique introduced by the Masters and Johnson's team. It works by refocusing the participants on their own sensory perceptions and sensuality instead of goal-oriented behavior. We don't say that you have to achieve this. We have to make them more acquainted with their sensuality, and these perceptions have to improve. So it's not really it's not focused on the genital and penetrative sex. It's first the sensuality that has to improve in that individual. So this therapy involves a graded series of non-demand sensual touching exercises by the couple, typically used with the couples. The object of the sensate focus therapy is to reduce the anxiety or avoidance of sensual touching or sexual activity, improving the sexual communication between the partners, and improving the intimacy by gradually reintroducing the sexual act. Gradual is a very gradual process, being more comfortable by touching and not directly going into the actual sexual part of it. The previous parts, the foreplay, being comfortable with touching, these are the things that are taken into account, and then gradually everything else is going to fall in place. Coming to the cognitive behavioral therapy, this focuses on altering thoughts and behaviors that distract or result in inhibiting sexual thoughts in a sexual situation with specific focus on automatic thoughts and beliefs that may inhibit the sexual desire. That is the cognitive component. This therapy serves to change sexual behavior by focusing on pleasure and not on sexual form, and planned sexual activity and self-exploration instead of avoidance of the sexual activity. There's an aversion or the lack of desire. Gradually, it brings back the sensuality, the sexuality gradually. So these are all very, very gradual processes and may take a lot of time or several sittings. Mindfulness is part and parcel of this kind of psychotherapy. The goal of mindfulness-based cognitive therapy is to encourage participants to connect and engage with their sexuality by learning and practicing a variety of mindfulness exercises that attempt to improve awareness of and increase the acceptance and self-compassion. The therapy also includes an educational component regarding the female sexuality and the sexual function. So again, this mindfulness-based CBT, that's called MBCT. This takes practices from CBT and applies aspects of mindfulness to the approach. Now coming to response, a woman will respond to, she has lack of desire, and how she is going to respond is this way, but she is going to respond to affectionate behavior, emotional intimacy, adequate privacy. She needs these kind of things. So a desire may actually be initiated with the above and adequate foreplay. So counseling needs to emphasize the need of these factors, which will improve her response. So when we come to Basson's non-linear model, initially we had spoken quite a lot about excitement, play to orgasm, and resolution in the linear pattern. But according to Rosemary Basson, it's not that simple. It's much more complicated, much more complex. So according to her, not all sexual encounters begin with spontaneous sexual desire. It is common for partners to feel desire at different times, especially in long-term relationships. However, if one is open and willing, there is a likelihood to feel desire with appropriate sexual stimuli and context, and a willingness and ability to be mindful and engaged. This is the responsive sexual desire, that is responding to the other factors that will gradually inculcate the desire, or it will bring the desire back to her. So coming to the psychopharmacology of sexual motivation and desire. So as Dilpreet has already introduced the subject, sexual desire can be inhibited by drugs or conditions that decrease brain dopamine levels, augment the action of brain serotonin, specifically through the 2A receptors, and increase opioids acting at the mu receptors. And so there are drugs that can cause HSDD by hampering the functioning of those like the serotonin and the dopamine and those transmitters. So the anti-epileptic drugs like carbamazepine, phenytoin, the serious drugs like ACE inhibitors, amiodarone, then the NSAIDs, opiates, the analgesia, the antipsychotics like lithium, alprazolam, diazepam, SSRIs, and tricyclic antidepressants, substance abuse like alcohol, heroin, cocaine, all of this has an adverse effect on the female sexual desire. And conversely, sexual desire can be stimulated by drugs or conditions that increase the dopamine levels, decrease serotonin levels, and so on. Coming to flibanserin, coming to the actual pharmacological products available. Flibanserin, which is dosed at 100 milligrams at bedtime, is a non-hormonal, centrally acting postsynaptic serotonin 1A receptor agonist and a serotonin 2A receptor antagonist that results in a decrease in serotonin activity and an increase in dopamine and norepinephrine activity. There was this Violet study about it. And the two principal pharmacological actions that it has is that it acts as a full agonist at the postsynaptic 1A receptors and an antagonist at postsynaptic 2A receptors. Exclusive binding at these receptors differentiates flibanserin from buspirone and bupropion, which I'll talk about gradually. This action in the prefrontal cortex causes the downstream release of dopamine and norepinephrine and reduction of serotonin, thereby consistent with sites of abnormal neuroimaging described in patients with reduced sexual interest and desire. Flibanserin thereby acts selectively on the pyramidal neurons that excite the brainstem 5-HT neurons, yet also selectively on the pyramidal neurons that inhibit the brainstem norepinephrine and dopamine. So directly acting on serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine, it has its function. But it should be used with caution because it is metabolized by the cytochrome P3A4 and thereby the inhibitors. Those drugs which are commonly used, which are inhibitors like ketoconazole, ciprofloxacin, erythromycin, and fluconazole may inhibit this enzyme and thereby might prolong the effect and cause adverse effects. Moreover, the inducers like OCPs, fluoxetine, which can be coexistently used, will also cause increased metabolism and thereby the desired effect will not be there. So we have to keep in mind the drug interactions because of the cytochrome P3A4 receptors. Coming to testosterone, which all of us talk about nowadays. Testosterone therapy is an evidence-based off-label treatment for perimenopausal and postmenopausal women with HSDD. The transdermal testosterone therapy using 300 micrograms per day patch has been consistently reported in multiple studies to be effective for the treatment of HSDD. And in our country, we are also using the testosterone gel 1% weight by weight for 3 to 6 months. Within 3 months, if there is no beneficial effect, then usually we go for some other mode of treatment and discard this. On the basis of analysis of 20 randomized placebo-controlled trials, testosterone has shown to have a positive effect on sexual response, having been reported to increase pleasure from masturbation, sexual desire, frequency of sexual activity, sexual satisfaction, and orgasm. Increases in sexual desire, the frequency of sexual activity, and sexual satisfaction in women receiving androgen therapy are found, and they have been substantiated. So again, this has to be used with caution, because excessive usage of testosterone in the female can give rise to breast cancer, hepatotoxicity, and the hyperandrogenic features, which we all know, that is the acne, hirsutism, and even clitoromegaly, which we should not ignore. This can be very distressing to the person. She has come to us with one problem, and we are giving her another problem that is, hampering her femininity. So that in itself can be a deterrent. So we have to be very cautious while using these products. Coming to buspirone, which I already mentioned, this is also a serotonin 1A partial agonist, is approved as an anxiolytic for the management of generalized anxiety disorders or the short-term relief of symptoms of anxiety. And it is also used as an off-label treatment for HSDD. And it can be used in a dosage of 5 milligrams BD. Bupropion is another product. It is a dopamine inhibitor used at 150 milligrams per day, and also norepinephrine also. And the side effects are, they can be tremor and dry mouth. Coming to bremelanotide, which is also available in the US. The US FDA approved this to treat acquired generalized hyperactive sexual desire disorder in premenopausal women in 2019. It is available there, and it is given subcutaneously. It activates the melanocortin receptors, but the mechanism by which it improves the sexual desire is not fully understood. Patients injected under the skin of the abdomen or the thigh 45 minutes before the anticipated activity, and may decide the optimal time to use it based on how they experience the effects. The patient should not use more than 1 dose in 24 hours and not more than 8 such doses in a span of a month. And in 8 weeks, within 2 months, if they do not get any desired effect, then they are asked to go for some other mode. This will not work for them if it hasn't worked in 2 months. Tibolone is a very good product, which we all use for other purposes in the menopause, but it treating climacteric complaints, it also enhances the mood and sexual well-being. And in postmenopausal women, it is working very good, and it treats vaginal atrophy, and most of the sexual medicine experts are using this quite a lot. DHEA, it has positive results at 100 milligrams per day. In our country, 25 milligrams per day is also available. 25 milligrams formulation is available for other purposes, like to increase the ovarian reserve. Then we can use that tablet in 3 to 4 tablets per day. And the effects have been substantiated by the studies by Bloch et al. At 2013, Kushnir, and also Rosemary Basson. According to her, women with HSDD were found to have lower morning cortisol and DHEA levels, and thereby there is a role of using DHEA supplementation in these women, and because that is a precursor of testosterone, eventually it's going to increase the testosterone level and thereby increase the libido. This is according to none other than Rosemary Basson. Coming to the nitric oxide donors, we all know that the PDE5 inhibitors like sildenafil and the others in the group will increase the vascularity, and thereby it can increase the response and will give beneficial effects. So also with L-arginine, which is directly a nitric oxide donor, and thereby will increase the vascularity and thereby will enhance the whole sexual process. Coming to the other modes of pharmacology, local lubricants for vaginal dryness, we all know it works very well. And a lot of good number of patients where the desire adversely the desire goes off because of the lack of any kind of lubrication, and totally they go into a shell. So those kind of patients, they will benefit from lubricants. Low-level laser therapy for vulvodynia, vestibulodynia is also a noted and recommended mode of therapy nowadays. Oxytocin nasal spray and D-cycloserine, if available, probably not in our country, wherever available, these are also showing promising results. And in the aging woman, the alternate measures I already mentioned, tibolone as a pharmacology. Along with that, understanding the normal aging changes is also very important, because along with that, then with that kind of counseling, she will benefit, and she will be able to, the couple will be able to cope better to those understandings. They should understand that in the aging woman, they will need longer foreplay, and also they may need alternate forms of intimacy when penetrative sexual activity is becoming very difficult for them or very painful for the woman. So alternate forms of intimacy may also be required, and an extensive, exhaustive counseling on the same aspect is required. So as we wind up, the points to ponder are that the treatment of HSDD may engage both psychosocial and biological strategies. Counseling with specific models by the primary health caregiver may benefit many patients. Treatment should focus on the factors that are most distressing to that individual. Psychotherapy by sensate focus, CBT and mindfulness may be of immense benefit in many patients. Though many pharmacological options are available, things that are usually used are the DHEA nowadays, L-arginine to increase the vascularity by acting as a nitric oxide donor, tibolone, as I already explained, in the postmenopausal woman, and local acting lubricants, and also testosterone gel. These are the products that are commonly used, though flibanserin, which is widely spoken about, is available in India, but not very widely available. On the online nowadays, it is available, but we have very few Indian studies, and very few of the sexual medicine experts have used it. But we should know that, yes, it is available. If we want to try it out, then we can. So in conclusion, I would like to say that HSDD is a highly prevalent but often undiagnosed condition that can effectively be managed by the specialist with appropriate assessment and individualized treatment by adequate model-based counseling initially, followed by psychotherapy wherever needed, or pharmacology. And we have so many medications in our basket. We have to try them, and whichever one suits our patient, we should go ahead with the same. And I'm sure that we, with this kind of understanding, will be able to benefit our patients who are silently suffering from this condition of HSDD, and they need help from us. And with this kind of knowledge, definitely all of us will be able to help them quite a lot. And I thank you all for your patient listening.
Thank you, Dr. Queen Aditya. You have comprehensively, elaborately actually discussed about the management. We'll have more of the discussion during the question answer session. Now to introduce the next speaker, over to you, Ananda Mohan sir.